Okay, let's get started playing with some of these fun brushes. The first brush that I would love to introduce you to is called the Wave Angle, and this is one of my favorite brushes, and it does come in different sizes, large to small here. You even have a little tiny baby one that is only an 1/8 inch long. I'm going to start with the 3/8 inch. That's a pretty normal size to get started with, and then you can experiment with the larger and smaller after that. So let's set the others off to the side for the time being. Once you learn how to do some of the basic strokes that you can accomplish with this brush, then it's just a matter of what can you turn those strokes into. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to use the brush and how to do the strokes. For instance, a typical comma stroke where you're pulling from fat to thin. A press leaf where you put pressure down on the short end of your brush, or where you just touch the tips and it leaves a little mark that is kind of jagged behind. If you get up on the very tips and pull, you get thin lines. Or if you stipple with a pouncing motion, you can create all kinds of stippled effects with that. So let's start with the basic strokes. Okay. First of all, when I'm using the brushes, I always want to rinse them in my water bowl first. And then I blot on my paper towel. I want to start with a favorite color. This is the Phthalo Green Blue, and it's a beautiful color. And I do, because I'm working on paper, I do want to add just a little drop of water to these colors. I'm also going to take a little bit of yellow to mix in there to come up with a little brighter green. I love bright greens. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm dressing the brush completely in this color, and it's been thinned with just a little drop of water. Now when I go to practice my strokes, and any kind of paper is wonderful to practice on, I just happen to be using scrapbook paper, which is really easy to get a hold of. Okay, so a comma stroke. When you're doing a comma stroke with this, you start up on the very top tips, you're pulling fat and then down on the chisel or skinny edge of the brush to get your comma stroke. For doing the press or pressure, you're going to put all the pressure on the very short corner of the brush, and you squish down. It's like that's the heel of the brush, and you're pointing the long tip, that's the toe. So heel to toe, and you just press down. Now, the amount of pressure that you put down determines how big that, it already looks like a leaf, how big that leaf is going to look like. So press and then lighten up, lighten up, lighten up, and you can get smaller as you go along. Okay, then the next is just to be able to touch with the tips themselves, and it gives this little irregular look to it, and I'm going to show you what all these fun little things turn into afterwards. Okay, or if you get up on the very tips, no pressure, and you pull, you can get lines. You can get multiple lines, and there's lots of fun things to do with that. The last is stipple, and you just pounce with the brush, and you kind of turn it in different directions. Great for foliage. Okay, so with these basic techniques, let's see what all we can do with them. First of all, my very favorite is to make leaves. Now, I'm also going to introduce another color onto the brush. I've got my green, but I'm going to take the short corner and I'm going to get some white on it, and then I'm going to press down on my palette on the short end of the brush, and when I press and lift, I get these great leaves. It's a really quick, easy way to create leaves. Now, if I'm really careful, I can actually take the toe or the very long tip of the brush and I can pull a vein down the center. Now, with the comma stroke, that you can just do really fun types of ferns or or leaves, very impressionistic, nothing, you know, that you're having to work real hard at, but just kind of fun little things to add into a painting. When you just do the tips, something that you can make with those then is pine needles. It's a real quick, easy way to make pine needles. Another favorite with a little bit more of the stippled effect is to make a pine tree. I just get a little bit of the raw sienna and a little bit of the raw umber on my brush because I want kind of a brown trunk on my tree. I'll rinse my brush now, get some more of my green in there. I'll mix up a little bit more of my green and my yellow. Now for the pine tree, you start by just touching the tips, and I do like 3 at the very top, and I call them like little chicken feet. Okay, then I'm going to start coming out and just tapping very carefully with my brush side to side to make the branches coming out farther down. And I want to still see some of the trunk of the tree. I don't want to make it so solid. Just tap a little side to side. In between, make some shorter ones and then come out longer until the tree is as large as you would like it to be. Using the tips of your brush, you can pull up your little grass along the pathway, set that tree in. Another thing that you could do with the brush is to do like a feather, and I'll pull a center vein just to kind of get me started. A little bit of a stylized feather, and just tickle, pull from the outside in, just kind of tickle with the tips. Get a little bit more paint. Tickle with the tips, pulling in towards that center vein, and you can get a nice little feather. So lots of fun things that you can do with this brush, and it's just very quick and easy to do. So these are the basic steps. Now let's turn this into some more designs.